This is KHEA Radio. Right now it's 2:06. This is Clear Life Combat. My name is Gardy. I'm excited because I have a guest that is zooming in. I'm going to let him go ahead and introduce himself right now, and we're going to find out where he's at and what he has going on. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, what's up? My name is Matt Kopra. I'm a purple belt under Rodrigo Cabral at Brazilian Fight Factory, and I'm competing this Saturday on Fight to Win 193 in Austin, Texas. So that's me. It's what I've got it going on. I'm excited that you have me on the show, Gertie.
I'm excited. I'm excited that you made some time. We were talking a little bit before this episode and stream started, and it seems like you're pretty busy. There's a lot of stuff. The main thing is the weather. So here in Texas, we're not really used to this, and in Galveston County, over there in Austin, I think y'all get a little bit colder than we do generally. So the event, it got moved, right?
Yeah, the event was originally scheduled for Friday night, and I was kind of aware of like how the weather was going to get, earlier in the week, and I was like, man, I don't know how this Friday night's going to work because obviously weigh-ins are the day before. So and Thursday, today the weather's supposed to be pretty bad. So and last year I'm sure like it was pretty rough weather-wise down in Austin. I was just kind of thinking that might happen again. So, but anyway, yeah, because of all that, they moved it to a day later. Things should be good Saturday. So
Yeah, you've had the opportunity to compete for Fight to Win before. Do you like that promotion? What is the experience like?
yeah, actually, I was thinking about this before the show, and I think that Fight to Win is probably like my favorite format, like to compete in. Um, a lot of people complain that like there's a way to like stall in that format, but I mean, I think that it's way less systemic than like other points based formats. Like just because, I mean, you gotta try and submit the guy. Like that's and even like people like doing like fake submissions or whatever. I mean, that's I feel like way less of an issue than like advantages and stuff. But anyway, yeah, it's a super fun experience. Like Seth, the promoter, Seth Daniels, who runs it, calls it like the biggest party in grappling, and it's not far off. It's always a really fun show. There's like the walkout music and stuff. Usually like a crowd. You can buy your friends, getting tickets. Like people are having drinks and stuff. It's a good time all around. So pretty excited to do it again this Saturday.
What's your walkout music? Is this something that you use every time, or do you pick something different?
My I think my first fight to win match, I walked out to this song called "Up and Away" by Can't Stop Won't Stop. It's like kind of like a funk, like it's just like a groovy song. And then the last I mean, God, like I don't know, 5 or 6 super fights I've had because I did like two. Wait, no, I don't know. I've had a number of super fights since then, and I think every single time after that, I've walked out to the song "I Love It" by Icona Pop. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's like that song. It's like I crashed my car into the bridge. I don't care. I love it.
Oh
Like
yes, yes.
it's a super poppy song. I don't know. I think it's funny. Like it's like a really like whimsical, fun like pop song. Like a lot of people like walk out to like super aggressive stuff, and I'm usually honestly just trying to calm myself down like before I compete. So it just reminds me not to take it too seriously. And if I'm feeling good, feeling kind of groovy, I'll compete pretty well. So that's why I like walking out to that.
Yeah, there's I guess a mental aspect to the music and your competitors' music, and it could throw them for a loop or just kind of say what state of mind you're in. Do you think does that come into play at all for listen to your competitors' music, or you think when they hear your song?
I mean, I don't think so, man. Like, I mean, I think your walkout music is a lot more about you than your competitor. Like you can't be, or at least like just from my perspective, like you can't be thinking about like what that other guy's thinking. I mean, it doesn't really matter that much. Like you're just gonna do jujitsu. Whoever has the better jujitsu works. So it's more about you than them, really.
And you are going to be going up against his name is Sean Babbitt. Do you know anything about him? Are you familiar with him at all?
I am, yeah. I've actually competed against him. He's a pretty tough wrestler guy. And I like to wrestle too, so we'll see how it goes. I think it'll be a pretty exciting match, especially given the format where really all that matters is your submission attempts. So I've been cooking up a good game plan with my buddies, my training partners at Brazilian Fight Factory, and I'm excited to test it out.
What's the culture like there at Brazilian Fight Factory?
Um, Man, this is something that I tell a lot of people about and they ask me about it. It's actually probably one of my favorite parts about training at Brazilian Fight Factory. Um, just because like here's like a small example. Like whenever someone is new at the gym, and I feel like a lot of jiu-jitsu gyms do this, but this is like a lot of jiu-jitsu gyms have like informal rules that aren't like they're not super consistent. Like for example, this rule: like if someone is new, like or not, just anytime like you step on the mat, like you shake everyone's hand and like say hi to them or introduce yourself if they're new there. And I like definitely have like trained at a lot of gyms. So that was like kind of a thing. Like you just say hi to everybody. It's kind of like that's just kind of like a part of jiu-jitsu culture, I feel like. But it is like a hard stop like rule. It doesn't matter if you're like the like super like gnarly black belt competitor on the mat, like you're gonna like say hi to all the white belts and like introduce yourself, which like sounds kind of silly maybe, but like I think it's a super that's just a small example, you know, like that's just an example of something that's like indicative of like a larger culture. Like everyone is super cool to each other, and I think it helps like the kind of the roughness of like some of the harder training, just because like I've definitely I've trained at some gyms. So there's been like guys will like beef with each other because of like
Yeah.
really hard training. Like you know some people can kind of come to words or like fisticuffs like if you're going like super hard, and that like so just doesn't happen like at BFF, just because I think the better competitors there um set like a really good example as far as like being mature and like being just cool to everybody there. So
I saw a video that it was from Pitago submission fighting where these two guys, I guess they were rolling hard. There was maybe some stuff outside of the gym, and they just let them throw down. And then the video, I don't know if they leaked it or put it out themselves, but did you see that?
I actually did, and I'm not sure I have a super developed opinion on that specific scenario, but I know a lot of those guys personally, and they have a really good culture with their team as well. So you know what, if that works for them, more power to them.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really have I mean, if it's kind of like if that fixes an issue, there's different ways to do that. And if you're comfortable with that, then just don't have have beef with someone or don't. It's
Yeah,
up to y'all, right?
yeah, right on.
All right. So, Fight to Win is coming up this Saturday. You talked a little bit, you said, "Hey, working on your teammates with a game plan." Ideally, how do you see it going?
Um, well, so I the thing about my jujitsu game is there are a lot of places where I feel really comfortable with submissions. It's just a matter of like not letting like positions happen where the game can kind of get stale. Like what I don't want to happen is to kind of like get stalled out like in the seated guard, or like get on his leg and be a little bit too loose with like my entry and not worry so much about like my positioning, get my back taken. So as long as I end up like in maybe like 3 to 5 positions that I've already thought about that I'm super comfortable reaching a submission, or just if I end up on top, because that's generally my experience like fighting guys who are super good at wrestling. That whether or not you wrestle them or use like some kind of like or you sweep them, come up on a leg entanglement, anything, as long as you can get on top of a guy who's more of a top player himself, a lot of them are a little bit more lacking in the bottom game, and it's almost like you're playing a video game and you feel the difficulty level like
Yeah.
just substantially. You know what I mean?
Yes. Let's talk a little bit about your background. What was your introduction to combat sports, and do we expect to see any other competitions in the future?
So the first combat sport I ever did was wrestling, and so I was actually a really horrible wrestler, fun fact. Which now I do like a lot of wrestling stuff. So I'll train with guys, and they'll like ask me like about like if like I don't know if I was successful at wrestling or anything like that, or if I was some kind of good wrestler. And I always like have to stop myself from laughing because I was like the worst wrestler. I was this super scrawny kid in high school. I like started high school weighing like 96 pounds. I was a gymnast for like most of my life, and I started wrestling, and I wasn't good enough to be the 106 pounder because our 106 pounder was just better than me because I didn't know how to wrestle. So I was the 113 pounder, and I just got like destroyed, like for like my entire like first year of wrestling. Anyway, but I just loved wrestling. It was I felt very similar with that initially, because I feel about jiu-jitsu now. Really just grappling in general. Like there was just something about it where I was like, man, like I really want to get good at this. Like uh just I feel like an experience a lot of people have with jiu-jitsu, where they like go their first jiu-jitsu class and they just get destroyed by a black belt, and they're like, man, that's cool that I could do that myself at some point maybe. So I felt that with wrestling, and then I never really achieved kind of what I wanted to in wrestling. Like I saw myself being this like great wrestler when I was in high school, and it never really happened. So after that, I just kind of had this like void where like it was all I cared about was wrestling, and I didn't have it anymore. And my best friend, Nathan Stanton, who I actually currently train with, uh, got me into jiu-jitsu when I was home from college. He like just brought me to a gym, was like, hey man, you got to try this jiu-jitsu thing out, because he was training for his first MMA fight, and he triangle choked me like 30 times. And I had that same feeling like, man, I gotta figure some of this out that I had with wrestling. And kind of a interesting situation. There wasn't really a good place to train jiu-jitsu at my college, but there was a really, really good judo team, which is super uncommon in colleges. There's maybe like 3 colleges with really good judo teams, and I could just see the judo guys and like see like there was like a small jiu-jitsu club there, but it was like white belts teaching white belts. And I, without knowing anything about jiu-jitsu, I could just kind of look and like contrast the two and be like,
Yeah.
like I want to be like those guys. And so just because of that, I ended up trying out and making the team, and just competed pretty seriously in judo for 4 years, and was something of a mediocre judo black belt competitor for a little while. And now I don't really train judo so much anymore, just like standing up in the gi sometimes at training. But yeah, that whole time I was also training jiu-jitsu whenever I was home from college with my buddy Nathan. And then when I graduated college, I just kind of went full into jiu-jitsu. So that's been like 2 years from now.
Okay, so what made you decide to try and even join the wrestling team in high school?
Um, I think my parents just tried to convince me to do it, because I was a gymnast when I was a kid, and gymnastics is like outside of the high school, So I think just for high school kids, it's like good to be like involved in something like at the school, instead of like
Yeah.
away gymnastics like 20 hours a week. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So then I just, for whatever reason, just tried out wrestling and loved it. So
Does
I
that
mean,
gymnastics background, does it benefit you now in jiu-jitsu and grappling?
I think so, a little bit. I think it definitely benefited me in judo, because I think I was not very good at judo. I still am not, but I'm pretty hard to throw. That's I can say that for sure. My judo coach actually, I think like maybe like a year into competing in judo, he showed me this competitor that they like call like, I think like the Ukrainian cat or something, because this dude just like cannot be thrown.
Yeah.
Like he'll just bonk on his head, but like his back will never touch the mat. And I definitely tried to emulate that quite a bit. So in my jujitsu, like initially I definitely did a lot more like acrobatic, like kind of spazzy, annoying stuff that maybe like wasn't the best jujitsu, but I would like maybe get super lucky and get the back or get a pass off of it. But now I try and do a little bit less of that and just try and be a little bit more controlled and systematic in my jiu-jitsu. But sometimes now it benefits me, just because like maybe I'm like about to get some points scored on me, or like I'm about to get my back taken, and I just kind of pull something crazy out of a hat and like do some kind of like flip or something. But I mean, I'm not doing a whole lot of that nowadays.
Yeah. So you mentioned getting done with college and just going all into jiu-jitsu. I mean, what does that mean? Can you describe that?
Well, so I think I kind of always had it in my head that I wanted to like succeed in a grappling sport. Um, and like that's how I felt about wrestling. But I knew I was never going to be like, just because I started wrestling in my sophomore year of high school. So I mean, I knew I was like never going to be some like freaking national champion wrestler or something. That's just not possible. And then in judo, I was like competing against like guys have been doing judo since they were like 2 years old, so I had a similar issue, but I kind of definitely achieved a little bit more of a level of success in judo than wrestling, just out of like pretty much just being able to train all day every day. And then this whole time when I was doing jiu-jitsu, I like just here and there I kind of got these like opportunities to train with guys who were at a higher level, and I just like every time I did, I kind of remember thinking like, you know what, like they're not that much better than me, like yeah, like maybe they like took my back and choked me or like mounted me and armbarred me or something, but like there was a moment where like I did something that they like didn't want me to do, and that kind of feeling just kind of grew over time to where by the time I graduated college, I was like, like I really want to like be serious about trying to be like a successful competitor in jiu-jitsu. And I mean, that's more, I mean, that doesn't really like mean anything in particular. It more just means like, I want to be as good as I can be, like, just kind of take this thing to the end and see like how far I get. So, I mean, yeah, I guess that means going all in wise. Just, I'm a pretty obsessive person. So I guess it really just means like channeling like that obsessive energy into like something healthy, like jujitsu, or
Yes.
kind of healthy.
Ideally, where would you like to see your jujitsu career go? What are some goals?
Well, so short-term goals. I definitely like to. So I'm hopefully, if everything goes well with my work, 'cause I still have to get it like 100% approved. Hopefully, I'll be able to compete in the West Coast trials, and I'd like to podium the trials for sure. I competed in the East Coast trials in November and made it to the round of 32. I lost a tough match 2-0, and so I almost made it to the second day. I think maybe the next time. I don't want to like set unrealistic goals, like I'm pretty realistic with myself. Like I'm not like some world champion black belt yet, like that's just not where I am yet. But I definitely think that I can make it to the second day of the trials. So make it to the second day, see if I can make the podium. I'm not going to beat myself up if that doesn't happen.
Yeah. So competing at the East Coast trials, I mean, how much more prepared are you for the West Coast trials?
Um, That's a good question. I mean, it depends like how you define prepared, because I think that I was pretty physically prepared, like conditioning wise.
Mm-hmm.
But also I had a lot of injuries going into it. So like, I think like if I made it to the second day of like, if I had won the match that I lost 2-0, I, I would have gotten like destroyed like immediately. Cause when I woke up that second day, I was like that is perhaps the most I've ever been beat up. Like after a competition, like just physically, my body was just so wrecked just because I'd like burned the candle at both ends
Mm-hmm.
for kind of so long. Because I did the gi pans, I did the nogi worlds, and then I did the East Coast trials. And in between all of those, I just never really like got a good reset on my body because I was kind of injured going into pans, and then I like never fixed it. So I think that definitely going into the West Coast trials, I'll be a lot more prepared for like kind of some longevity, like in the competition because it's super hard. That's something that I think a lot of people don't realize about the trials that like unless you submit the guy, like you're gonna be fighting for like 9 minutes about because it's like six
Yeah.
minutes, 3 minutes. You're gonna be fighting for a while, and like the matches are crazy, like they go off the mat, like or like the mat is like freaking this thin, and then there's like a hardwood floor underneath, so like you're gonna be like sprawling on it, like scrambling around, wrestling super hard on the body, and then every time you compete, you like have the adrenaline spike, and then you go back down, and you have to start over
Mm-hmm.
again. So like it's not like doing like 9 minute rounds in training.
Yeah. So
And
I was
that
just
yeah
noticing
that
people going off the mats. It was like the crowd's right there. It was on all the videos that I saw.
Oh yeah, it's insane. Like I just saw like some absolutely crazy stuff there. There's like this dude had like a buggy choke on a guy, and the guy like stood up like about to go out in the buggy choke, and then walked over to like the table, like where the scorers were at, and like put the guy on the table, so they had to stop the match because like he was about to go out in the buggy choke.
Mm-hmm.
Because the refs just like will not stop the action. Like if you are in an inside heel hook, like in the like in the chairs, like 6 feet off the mat, like you were on hotel carpet, getting your knee cranked in an inside heel hook, the ref will not stop it. So, I mean, that's, I think a big thing about me being prepared for the West Coast trials is I definitely I already have, like I got my feet wet a little bit, you know, I already dipped my toe in and I know what to expect. I mean, I don't think I had unrealistic expectations for the East Coast trials, but there's definitely a big difference, you know, already kind of having been there before, you know, it's a lot easier to get less psyched out about it.
Okay, so earlier you mentioned about, I guess, you and them like physically, and if you take injuries out of it, I guess what separates those guys if they're physically the same, conditioned the same, from the guys at the top and the guys who maybe have a couple more steps to get there? Is it a mental thing?
I think a large part of it is a mental thing. Just because like I've definitely trained with some guys where I'm like, how are you this good? You know what I mean? Like they don't have like any like accolades like in jiu-jitsu, but like when you roll them on the mat, you're like, oh my god, like this guy is like a savage if he like gets your back, or like this guy's a savage if he gets you in a guillotine. But competition is like it's not positional sparring, you know, like it's not like you don't get to start where you want to start. So I think a big part is people or a big part of successful competitors that I'm definitely trying to figure out myself, how to improve on this, is guys that are really really good at making the match go the way that they want it to go, you know, like and then they're really good at like getting it back on track if it doesn't go that way, you know what I mean? Like if you want to like funnel your, like say you really want to be on the back but you're not good at taking the back, then you'll just lose a lot, you know what I mean? Especially if it's sub only and that's your only sub. So a big part of it is just being good at competing. Like just you have to compete a lot and kind of figure out how you get to your best positions, because you don't get to start in your best position.
Yes, that's awesome. See, those are kind of things that I just love to learn. And how many times would you say you competed last year?
Oh man, I don't know. Fair amount. I mean, I competed like it would take me a second to count, but I mean, like probably like 10 times, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's much. Like, I know guys that like compete every other week, so it's just it's hard to do that. Like, balance, like compete every other week, and like still see your friends, like still have work stuff. So, I mean, I compete definitely. I feel like as much as I can make happen, and still balance other aspects of my life.
Yes. Can we talk a little bit about, I guess, Austin as a city and what's really happened in the last year and a half or so with jiu-jitsu there?
Yeah, yeah. So obviously, a bunch of the best guys in the world have moved there, like Craig and Nicky Rod and all them at the B team, and Gordon and all them at I guess what's gonna be New Wave. I think they like teach out of Hinzo Gracie Austin, which is a really small gym, just down the street. And then I think that they're like gonna open up a new school here soon. But I mean, obviously I don't train at either of those gyms, but I think that I think it's a good thing for me, like selfishly, just because I don't know if you've ever heard like the saying, but like a rising tide raises all ships. Like it's not going to make me any worse that like better guys are around me. It'll make it harder to win a local competition, but like I don't care about winning a local competition, you know? Like I want to be good at big competitions. So if like I'm like iterating out more often, like competing against super high level guys, that's awesome for me. So that's kind of like my selfish answer of what I think about it. I think it's great. Um, yeah, and I think probably if you compete in jiu-jitsu, you should probably feel the same. Feel in Austin.
Yes. Okay. You mentioned some short-term goals, and then kind of just in passing, you said a world champion black belt. Is that a long-term goal for you?
Um, yeah, I mean, I guess it's not like I don't have that super set in stone as a goal, just because there are a lot of really, really great competitors who never won the worlds at black belt. So I feel like it's I mean, because you could be like in the perfect shape and just like whatever happens on that day, it just doesn't go your way, you know, like maybe like I'm not gonna like have my heart broken if I'm not like a world champion black belt, but I want to like ideally I would like my jiu-jitsu to reach a level where I am a black belt competitor with like my name in the hat. You know what I mean? Like competing on a regular basis, like able to like do seminars, stuff like that. I mean, I don't really ever see jujitsu as being like my sole like my income or anything like that. But I mean, I love to do it, and I'd like to just be really good at it, you know. So,
Yes.
however good it be, whether that's just being a really good brown belt or just a black belt who can win most competitions. I mean, I'm going to see what that is. I'll do my best to make it happen, but however I end up, I'll be happy with because I know I gave my best effort.
Do you have any desire to transition to MMA?
Not really, honestly. I definitely am big on the grappling, not so much on the striking. I actually my best friend Nate, who got me into jiu-jitsu, I trained a little bit of striking with him when I first started doing jiu-jitsu. And pretty funny story. I tell people this all the time whenever they think that like I've like done MMA before or something. Because a lot of the guys at BFF like just all have done like have all fought or like all can strike. So they like assume that I can as well. I'm like, no, guys, like not at all. In fact, when I first started training jiu-jitsu with Nathan, we did some MMA stuff. I would show up to gyms with him where he was going to spar with them, and he was like, definitely, because we weren't training at like super advanced gyms, and his Muay Thai is like pretty advanced. So whenever we like showed up these gyms, I'm like the guy who was like showing up with the guy who's there to like try and smoke everybody, and I'm also like reasonably athletic looking, like similar build as him. They just assume that I'm his training partner when like really I'm like his white belt student essentially in striking. So all these guys would just go super hard against me and just beat the freaking brakes off of me at the gym. And I like it's like they're like taking out their anger on me or something, you know. It's not like jujitsu where like if you're rolling the white belt, you're like, okay, like I can see like he's not like super advanced. I'm not gonna like try and tap him as many times as I can. So just because that initial experience kind of put a bad taste in my mouth with striking, so I think I'll probably stick to the tussling on the ground. Leave the MMA to the tough guys.
All right. Okay, so just a reminder, Matt will be competing at Fight to Win 193. That's this Saturday in Austin, Texas. He's going to be facing Sean Babbitt. I believe that's going to be on Flow Grappling, or you'll be able to get some tickets and attend that as well. Is there anything else that you'd like to share today?
Um, yeah, actually, I mean, I guess I'd just like to thank my training partners for getting me ready for this. My buddy William Tackett helped me out with the game plan. And last night, me and my buddy Michael McCrae, who's also competing. Oh yeah, that's a good thing to do. All I got a couple buddies competing on this card as well. You make sure to watch out for them. Zach Tellender, JT Little, Michael McCrae. I think that there's someone else. Oh, Brandon Gambucci. Duh. So all those guys, Brazilian Fight Factory boys, will be competing on the same card. Make sure you give them a watch as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for making time today. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you for having me on your show, man. I loved it.